What if you woke up tomorrow and every dollar you ever saved was just not gone? Not stolen from a dark alley, not taken by force? Gone because someone made a phone call, sent a text, and your bank handed them everything you worked decades to build. If that sentence made your stomach drop, good. Because what you're about to hear is real. These are not edge cases. These are not careless people. These are regular men and women, retirees, business owners, hardworking families, who did almost everything right and still lost it all. And the scariest part? The methods being used right now, in 2026, are more convincing than ever before. Before we go any further, if this kind of content matters to you, do something small right now. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share this video with someone you care about, because the information in the next few minutes could genuinely protect them. Scammers count on people not knowing. Let's change that. Let's start with something most people have never heard of, but should absolutely know about. It's called a SIM swap, and it's one of the most quietly devastating scams happening right now. Here's how it works. A criminal gets hold of some basic personal information about you. Your name, your phone number, maybe your address. Information that, honestly, isn't that hard to find anymore. Then they call your mobile carrier, the company that runs your phone service, and they pretend to be you. They say they've lost their phone or they've upgraded their device and they need your number transferred to a new SIM card. A new phone, their phone. If the carrier falls for it, your number is now theirs. Think about what that means for a second. Every text message meant for you now goes to them. Every verification code, every one-time passcode your bank sends to confirm it's really you logging in, it all goes straight to the scammer. Jeff found this out the hard way. He was going about his day when his phone suddenly lost signal. No bars, no calls, no texts. He thought it was just a network glitch. But while he was standing there wondering why his phone wasn't working, someone on the other side of that scam was already inside his bank account. By the time Jeff got to a landline and called his bank, he was told the news no one ever wants to hear. More than $20,000 had already been taken, gone, in the time it took him to find another phone to make a call. This is not a slow scam. This is not a scam where you have time to think. It happens in minutes. And what made Jeff's situation even more painful was how simple the fix could have been. If his mobile carrier had required a secure PIN before transferring his number to a new device, the scammer would have been stopped cold. That one layer of protection, a simple PIN, could have saved everything. Some carriers have started implementing this, but not all of them do it consistently. And scammers know exactly how to work around the ones that don't. The lesson here is immediate and practical. Call your mobile carrier today. Ask them to put a port freeze or a number transfer PIN on your account. Ask them what happens if someone tries to move your number to a new device. If they can't give you a clear and confident answer, push harder. Your phone number is now one of the most important keys to your financial life. Treat it that way. But SIM swapping is just the beginning. Because there's another scam that's even more common, even harder to detect, and in many ways, even more psychologically brutal. It doesn't require hacking your phone carrier. It just requires making you believe you're talking to someone you trust. Scott and his wife Kate were running their business, managing their accounts the way responsible people do, when Scott received a text message. It looked exactly like a Chase bank alert. It asked him whether he had approved a wire transfer for several $1,000s. He hadn't. So he did what any reasonable person would do. He called the bank branch directly to check if there was any suspicious activity on his account. That was actually the smart move. The branch gave him the direct number for the fraud department. He was doing everything right. But then he made one mistake. One single mistake that cost him over $137,000. He responded to the original text. And the moment he did, the scammers, who had been watching and waiting, sent him a message saying a fraud representative would be calling him shortly. Within 30 seconds, his phone rang. And here's the part that makes this so terrifying. The number that showed up on his screen was the exact same number the bank branch had just given him for the fraud department. It looked 100% legitimate because the scammers had spoofed it. They had digitally masked their real number and replaced it with Chase's actual fraud line. So when Scott answered, he genuinely believed he was talking to his bank. He had even called the real Chase line at one point when the call dropped, only to have the scammers call him right back. And because they sounded more helpful and more informed, he trusted them more. They already knew his account number. They already knew his balance. They just needed one thing from him. A one-time passcode that Chase sent to his real phone as a security check. Scott read it to them. He thought he was helping his bank verify his identity. Instead, he was handing them the last key they needed to drain his entire account. This is called phone spoofing combined with social engineering. And it works because it doesn't attack your computer or your network. It attacks something much harder to defend: your trust. The caller doesn't sound nervous. They don't make mistakes. They know your name, your account details, your recent transactions. They're calm. They're professional. They tell you exactly what you want to hear. And by the time you realize something is wrong, The money is already moving. Now here's where it gets worse. When Scott and Kate went back to Chase and explained exactly what had happened, that they had been deceived by a fraudulent caller who had spoofed the bank's own phone number, Chase denied their claim. The bank essentially said that because a passcode was entered, the transfer was considered authorized. The fact that that passcode was obtained through deception didn't seem to matter to the bank's internal review process. So not only did they lose their life savings, they were told it was their fault. That response, blaming the victim, is something we're going to keep seeing in this video, and it raises a much bigger question about who is actually responsible when these systems fail. Let's talk about Deborah for a moment, because her story adds another layer that people need to understand. Deborah had recently moved into a new home, a fresh start. She was in her 60s, she had spent 12 years carefully saving, and she had nearly $160,000 in her bank account. That was her life savings, her security. One day she got a text from what appeared to be Chase Bank, asking if she had approved a small debit card transaction from another state. She hadn't, so she replied no. Within moments, her phone rang. The caller said they were from Chase, and they wanted to help her get a new debit card since her current one may have been compromised. Before they could send the new card, they said they just needed to verify her identity. And to do that, they would send her a text with some numbers, and she just needed to read those numbers back to them over the phone. The faster you know, the faster you can act. Time is the only thing that gives you any chance of recovering money after a wire transfer has been sent. Now let's talk about what to do if this happens to you, because the next few hours after you discover a problem will determine everything. The first thing you do is call your bank immediately. Use the number on the back of your card. Do not search for a number online. Do not use a number from a text message. Get through to the fraud department and tell them exactly what happened. While you're on that call, start writing everything down. The time you called, the name of the person you spoke to, what they told you, what actions were taken. Every detail matters. Banks operate on documentation, and your paper trail will either help you or hurt you. The second thing you do is go to a branch in person. Don't handle something this serious over the phone if you can avoid it. Walk in, ask to speak with a supervisor, and escalate immediately. Ask them about wire recall options. It's not always possible, but when a transfer is recent, sometimes the receiving bank can be contacted and funds can be frozen before they disappear completely. It's a long shot, but long shots are worth taking when everything is on the line. The third thing you do is file a police report. I know it feels like a formality. I know it feels like nothing will come from it, but you need it. Banks require it. And if you end up fighting the denial, it becomes part of your legal documentation. Don't skip it, even if it feels pointless in the moment. The fourth thing you do is file a complaint with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. The CFPB exists specifically for situations like this. When you file a complaint, the bank is required to formally respond. That creates accountability, it creates a record. And in many cases, it prompts a second review that sometimes leads to a different outcome. Banks take CFPB complaints seriously in a way they don't take individual phone calls seriously. The fifth thing you do is freeze your credit immediately. Even if the scam only touched your bank account, the people who did this now know things about you. Your name, your address, your banking information, possibly more. Freeze your credit at all three bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. It takes minutes and it's free. Do it before they try the next move. The sixth thing you do is change everything. Your banking login, your email password, your phone carrier PIN, every password connected to anything financial. Enable two-factor authentication on all accounts. But from now on, never share those codes with anyone. Set up alerts, lock things down. Assume that whoever did this might try again from a different angle. Now, here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. The reason people feel so betrayed when this happens isn't just the money. It's the realization that the systems they trusted to protect them didn't protect them at all. We're taught from a young age that banks are safe, that the money you deposit is guarded, insured, protected, and in some ways it is. But what we're not taught is that those protections have conditions. And one of the biggest conditions is this. If it looks like you authorized something, the bank will treat it as authorized. Scammers know this better than most people who work in banking. They don't try to break through security walls. Breaking through security walls is hard. It's risky. It attracts attention. Instead, they find a person, a real, trusting, responsible person. And they walk that person through every security gate themselves. The person becomes the vulnerability, not the system. When the bank reviews what happened, they see a customer who shared codes and approved transactions. They don't see a victim. They see liability they didn't create. That framework is frustrating. It's infuriating. For Deborah, it was devastating. But understanding it is what keeps you from becoming the next person sitting across from a bank supervisor, hearing that your account has been very active and your money is gone. Here's one more thing worth saying clearly. These scammers are professionals. Not professionals in any moral or respectable sense, but professionals in the sense that they've refined what they do. They practice the conversations. They modulate their tone. They time their callbacks. They know exactly how long to wait between contacts to feel realistic rather than suspicious. They know that one big request raises red flags, but 6 small requests spread over a week feel routine. They know that your guard is lower when you've already said yes once. They build trust carefully, and then they use it quickly. Deborah is not naive. She's not careless. She's a person who was specifically targeted by people who spent time learning how to manipulate exactly the kind of person she is. That's what makes this so chilling. And that's what makes the bank's letter, the one that said she didn't take appropriate steps, so deeply unfair. But unfair doesn't get money back. Awareness does. So here's what you carry with you after watching this. When someone contacts you claiming to be your bank, your first instinct should not be to cooperate. Your first instinct should be to slow down, to pause, to hang up and call back using a number you already know, to treat every inbound contact about your money as suspicious until you've verified it yourself. The bank will understand. A real bank employee will never be offended by you saying, "Let me call you back through the official number." A scammer, on the other hand, will have a reason why you can't do that. Protect your codes the way you protect your cash, because they are your cash. They are the authorization the entire banking system runs on. Once you give them to the wrong person, the system can't tell the difference. And when the system can't tell the difference, you are on your own. This scam didn't work because Deborah wasn't smart enough. It worked because she was human, because she trusted the name on her phone, because she wanted to believe the system was working for her. That's not a character flaw. That's what these criminals are counting on. Don't let them count on it from you. One final thing before you go, and this is the most important ask I'll make in this entire video. Send this to 3 people right now, not in a week. Right now, while it's fresh and while it matters. Your parents, your grandparents, a friend who doesn't follow financial news. Anyone in your life who could be sitting where Deborah was sitting, waiting for a debit card that's never coming. The few seconds it takes you to share this video could be the thing that saves someone's entire life savings. That's not an exaggeration. That's exactly what's at stake. Share it. And if you're not subscribed yet, do that too, because there's a lot more coming that you need to see. $37,000 deposited. Gone within 4 hours. Diane said afterward that she wasn't thinking clearly, and that's exactly the point. These scammers are masters of manufactured panic. They create a crisis, they position themselves as the solution, and then they guide you through the steps of handing over your own money while your brain is flooded with fear. The FBI has a term for this. They call it the emotional override. When someone genuinely believes their financial security is under immediate threat, their decision-making changes. They skip steps they would normally take. They trust people they normally wouldn't. They move fast when they should slow down. Understanding this doesn't make you immune, but it gives you a fighting chance. The moment you feel sudden urgency around your finances, the moment someone tells you that you have to act right now, is a red flag. Real banks don't operate that way. Real fraud departments tell you to hang up and call back. Real security measures never involve cryptocurrency machines at a liquor store. Let's close with Tom and Ann, a retired couple in their 70s. They had done everything right. They had savings. They had a fixed income. They were careful people. And they still lost $42,000 to a scam so sophisticated that even the police detective put it in writing. He said the bank should never have authorized those transfers. Started with a text. Tom called the number on the back of his debit card, the actual Chase customer service number. He was doing it correctly. But after he spoke with the real bank, the scammers called back, spoofing Chase's number. It appeared legitimate on caller ID. Once they were inside that conversation, they guided the couple through 2 wire transfers. Here is what makes this case particularly striking. Police records showed the calls authorizing those transfers didn't come from Tom and Ann's phone numbers. They came from a spoofed version of their numbers. And the scammers had faked the couple's own phone numbers. This made it look like the order to wire money was coming directly from the account holders. Chase still denied the refund. Their official reason? A one-time passcode was sent and correctly entered. Case closed. The fraud detective wrote in his official report that no bank should have authorized those transfers. He had compared the real Ann Hill's voice with the voice on the call. The voices were different. The evidence was there. Chase still said no. Tom and Ann are in their 70s. They are retired. They don't earn a salary anymore. What they have in savings is what they have. And they were told that $42,000 was simply gone. They've been fighting for 2 years. So what do we do with all of this? What's the takeaway when the scammers are this good and the banks are this reluctant to take responsibility? First, protect your phone number like it's a financial asset, because it is. Call your carrier, set up a transfer PIN, ask about a port freeze, do it this week. Second, never read a code out loud to anyone who calls you, ever. If your bank sends you a verification code and someone on the phone asks you to read it back, hang up immediately. A real bank representative will never ask you to do that. Third, hang up and call back. If you receive any call claiming to be from your bank about fraud, end the call. Then dial the number on the back of your card or from the bank's official website. Not a number from a text, not a number from a pop-up. The number you look up yourself. Fourth, slow down when someone creates urgency. Urgency is a manipulation tool. If someone tells you that you have to act in the next few minutes, that pressure is almost always manufactured. Take a breath. Call a family member. Walk into a physical bank branch. Fifth, write it down if something feels wrong, like Moses did on that withdrawal slip. You can communicate without speaking. If you're on a call that feels off and you're at the bank, use a piece of paper. Ask a teller, ask a manager. Let them help you figure out if something is wrong before any money moves. And sixth, and this is perhaps the most important, advocate for stronger protections. The bank's current position, that a passcode entry equals full authorization, is not good enough. Regulators in multiple countries are beginning to recognize this. Consumer pressure matters. Write to your representatives. Support legislation that requires banks to take greater responsibility in fraud cases. These scams are not going away. In fact, they're getting more sophisticated every single year. Artificial intelligence is now being used to clone voices, making phone-based deception even harder to detect. Scammers can now replicate the voice of someone's own family member and use it to beg for help. We are entering a period where almost nothing you hear or see digitally can be taken at face value. That's not a reason to live in fear. It's a reason to build better habits now, before you need them. The people in this video weren't foolish. They weren't reckless. They were human. They were targeted by criminals who spend every working hour studying human psychology. The least we can do is take their stories seriously, share them, and make sure others know what's coming. One last thought before you go. Every single person in this video thought it wouldn't happen to them. Every one of them. The retired couple, the business owner, the woman who spent 12 years saving. None of them saw it coming, and most of them are still fighting to get their money back years later. The best protection you have is knowledge, and you now have more of it than you did 20 minutes ago. If this video opened your eyes, if it made you think differently, then it did its job. Share it, like it. Leave a comment telling me which scam surprised you the most. Your comment helps this reach more people who need to see it. And if you want to keep learning how to protect yourself, subscribe, because we're just getting started. Stay sharp, stay skeptical, and never ever read that code out loud.